After a lifetime of being hated and attacked by her older sister, Starfire had finally defeated Blackfire, seemingly for good, but old nemeses die hard. Blackfire had survived her death battle with Starfire, but the attempt on her sister's life left her blind. Luckily for her, she was recovered and cared for by a fellow Tamaranian named Dorian. While her body was mostly intact, her spirit was broken. Defeat at Starfire's hand left her weak, and her blindness made her feel pitiful. But when no one else was looking, Dorian became an asset to koriand'r, and as unbelievable as it sounds, this would prove beneficial to Tamaran's people. Part of the population now saw the king as weak for submitting to the Citadel years ago. They blamed their declining warrior spirit on his weakness. One such detractor was Dorian himself, who saw koriand'r as a fitting replacement. Her cunning and strength spoke volumes to him. But love alone wasn't enough to restore her spirit, and without her spirit, her eyesight would not return. koriand'r's lover tried to motivate her to awaken her inner warrior through tireless exercises, to make her rely on her remaining senses and reclaim her warrior's edge. But it was no use. She now relied on Dorian for everything. So Dorian came up with a permanent solution. He pretended to be a loyalist and attacked koriand'r. She defended herself with lethal fury, and when she discovered the truth, she was distraught. But with his dying words, he told koriand'r the importance of having something to fight for. Once one has the reason, the strength will easily flow. With that, her eyesight and killer instinct returned. Blackfire had a new guiding goal in mind. Not the vengeful spilling of blood, but to be the ruler that Tamaran needs. She would be strong and cold for the sake of her people, thus beginning the great Tamaranian Civil War. Meanwhile on Earth, Starfire continues to fight battles and save lives with the Teen Titans. She had acclimated to many of Earth's ways and embraced its customs as best she could. She and Dick had even professed their love for each other and had begun dating for quite some time. It seemed that nothing could break them up until Tamaran came calling. At the request of the crown, koriand'r was ordered to return to her home planet. Not long after arriving, her parents tell her the reason why she was summoned. She is to be wed to one Prince Karas from the second largest Tamaranian kingdom of Calipat. This alliance would strengthen the respective houses and help to repair Tamaran's strained bonds. koriand'r can't believe her ears. Her father orders her to marry a man she barely knows and to remain on Tamaran forever. Painful memories are triggered. Memories of how koriand'r sold her out to the Citadel years ago. Now once again, koriand'r is putting the desires of his people above his own daughter. But as much as she resists, she still feels duty-bound to her home planet. Dick doesn't take this news well, to say the least. They were already having troubles, as Dick struggled to accept koriand'r's Tamaranian ways. Even though she didn't have nearly as much bloodlust as when she did when she first landed on Earth, it was still a part of her. And Kori was tired of trying to change a core part of who she was. She wanted her lover to accept all facets of her, while Dick feared the resurfacing of her more savage ways. What's more, the idea of sharing a woman with another man was something he couldn't even imagine, and even less so if done at the orders of a man who already gave his daughter away as a slave. koriand'r tried to soothe his concerns. She tells him that this isn't a marriage of love, but of politics. They'd keep up appearances in public while tending to their own private love lives. Karas would have no trouble allowing this, because he had his own forbidden lover, who he wanted to marry. But none of this eased Dick's aching heart, and when the inevitable day came, he watched with the rest of the kingdom as Prince and Princess joined their souls together in Tamaranian matrimony. But the ceremony is interrupted by word of an attack on the kingdom's capital. Starfire flies outside to lend aid to her parents. On the way, she notices how easily Tamaran soldiers are defeated, and wonders how their forces have grown so weak. Her question would be answered by Commander herself soon enough, as the two lock eyes and engage in combat. Commander seeks to restore Tamaran's former glory by wrestling it off of her father's path, and tries to use this to appeal to Kori. He did allow her to be sold into slavery after all, and here he was again, ignoring her own needs. She even deceptively offers Kori a seat beside her to rule, but Kori won't stand for any of it. She fights with no restraint, ready to kill Commander with her own hands. But Blackfire now stands with half the planet at her back, and her followers will secure her the throne by any means necessary. They've planted an ion bomb in the capital city. The only hope in defusing it and sparing the city's destruction is for the king to step down. With no other choice in sight, Meander puts it to a vote. Their answer is deafening. Blackfire's coup is a success. Blackfire then exiles the former royal family, relishing in the chance to continuously humiliate them. She broadcasts their exile to all of Tamaran as Starfire and the others board a vessel bound for Occams. Starfire watches as her father is beaten, spat upon, and mocked by his former subjects. She threatens to kill them, but Commander asserts her dominance with a star bolt to the back and a backhand across the cheek. The eldest child, who never felt accepted, was now in full control. She's bested her family, and most importantly, her sister. It would seem that Starfire survived all those years of Blackfire's cruelty and scheming to lose everything in a few short moments. But Blackfire knows her family still has loyal followers, and she needs their defeat to be absolute. So she uses the power of media and public opinion for one final victory. In an elaborate hoax, Commander tells her people that her family is sent to Occams for training to remind them of what made Tamaran great. But her speech is interrupted by a man who storms the vessel, claiming his family was murdered for choosing the wrong side. Blackfire feigns fright as the camera switches to the outside of the ship, and at this moment she pays her family back for their perceived neglect by detonating their spacecraft. Tamaran watches the royal family's assassination, along with Dick, Jericho, and Karas. Dick is overcome with loss and a burning thirst for blood, but Blackfire salts her revenge dish with his pain and washes it down with torture. She adds insult to injury with one last dig at both of Starfire's men. Karas will never know her passionate touch, and Dick will never feel it again. Dick and Karas burn with hatred for Tamaran's new queen, but their angry tears are cleansed by good news. The royal family survived. A loyalist on board the vessel saw to it. Another one within Blackfire's guard now frees Starfire's friends, who rocket off to meet the royal family on Occams. The meeting of the two groups is anything but smooth. Kori and Karas finally begin to bond as husband and wife for the first time, as they spend weeks honing their warrior skills together under the tutelage of the same warlords who trained Koriand'r as a girl. They learn to fight as one, but while they grow closer, Kori and Dick grow apart. Dick's depression is too much to bear as he watches Kori and her new husband train. He can't accept the fact that she's relearning her warrior ways, training to kill again, and so he goes to the love of his life and tells her that they should just forget about each other. The Golden Princess's heart shatters loud enough for the entire galaxy to hear as she proclaims her love to Dick's deaf ears. Her husband doesn't have the words to comfort her, and so he merely holds her while she weeps. On different planets, the sisters prepare for their inevitable reunion in similar ways, even before Blackfire learns of Koriandr's survival. The new queen of Tamaran holds celebratory tournaments and looks on with pride as her people renew their warrior culture. But she finds herself behaving more and more like Kori as she shows her people mercy and consideration. At the same time, Starfire hones her warrior skills to a level that even Blackfire would respect. When koriand'r is finally alerted of her family's survival, she responds by issuing them an ultimatum, ordering them to return to Tamaran immediately. To prove her seriousness, she destroys the uninhabited city of koriand'r and threatens to pile the casualties high if they don't return in 12 hours. With the public on her side, she stokes the anti-loyalist fires by blaming the blast on her own family. As the Queen tries to deduce Corey's plans, she's caught off guard as Starfire covertly re-enters the capital city herself. The Queen scrambles her forces and sets off to meet her sister again, but for the first time, fear follows her to an encounter with koriand'r. And for good reason. Blackfire is surrounded by people who respect and adore her. Why would koriand'r want to destroy that? Why can't she see how koriand'r has brought prosperity, peace, and unity back to their planet? Starfire's mission was simple: take out the communications and avoid unnecessary fighting and the general public. Tamaran hadn't seen prolonged war on its surface in centuries, so the planet was woefully ill-prepared for long-term combat. Once that was accomplished, Starfire would have koriand'r's forces focus on trying to take her down, allowing her troops to attack the capital's infrastructure. She sticks to her word, avoiding needless death as she defends herself and evades enemy gunfire. But at this moment, she realizes that she holds two dueling natures within her. She cares deeply about the lives of her attackers, and she also wants Blackfire to suffer for what she's done. She feels the influence of her friends on Earth, making it harder for her to kill. But maybe this is who she was at her core all along. Koriand'r's bloodlust stemmed from her abuse at koriand'r's hands, a survival tactic. But over time, and with numerous victories, she's been letting that part of herself go. Now, only koriand'r herself can sufficiently rouse koriand'r's bloodlust. As Tamaran ignites in the fires of war once again, the sisters have switched roles. koriand'r was once the bitter sibling whose need for revenge scorched the planet, but now she races to protect her people while her beloved planet burns. Koriand'r once looked on in horror as her utopia burned, the smell of flesh rising into the air. But now she brings war back to Tamaran's surface. The sisters are becoming more alike with each passing moment, and as the next round in their ongoing feud begins, they even share the same thoughts. Deep beneath the city, koriand'r, Karas, and Ryand'r prepare for the next phase of their attack. Koriand'r would do anything to wrestle her people out of the snare of her tyrannical sister's rule. But here she learns a sobering truth about them. Nearly all of them support koriand'r, for she had restored Tamaran's fighting spirit and their faith in themselves. This enrages koriand'r. Her sister has duped the people with her lies, surely. Everyone knows Blackfire is evil, except they don't. They still love the former royal family, but they now follow koriand'r. Corey embraces her family one last time before heading out to battle, resolute in her mission to save Tamaran from Blackfire. But her family no longer shares in her zeal. They know that regardless of who wins this fight, the family will lose. The weapons plant is destroyed, and with it, the brunt of Tamaran's fighting capabilities. All that remains is the Queen herself. As their final round begins, koriand'r calls out koriand'r's hypocrisy. For all of her talk of loving Tamaran, her return has only brought it to ruin, just to deny what's rightfully Blackfire's. Just as when they were children, koriand'r stole koriand'r's birthright, but Corey refutes her sister's arguments, and each rebuttal is punctuated by a devastating blow. Blackfire knows her sister doesn't understand how she's suddenly fallen in love with Tamaran. She doesn't understand it herself. But Starfire doesn't need to understand or listen. She knows what her sister is capable of. Koriand'r realizes something about herself during the fight. Until this moment, she didn't truly hate her sister. She mistook hurt, anger, and vengeance for hatred. But now that her family has nearly died at Blackfire's hand, she enters a new level of detest for her sister. There can be no second chance for someone this evil. The battle rages on, with both sisters reliving the worst parts of their past. Commander recalls how she was denied love as a child, while watching Koriand'r receive everything that was meant for her. But Kori knows how anger twisted Blackfire's perception of reality. Blackfire buries her sister, but Starfire doesn't stay down for long. She bursts forth from the rubble and unleashes an onslaught of violence upon her sister. The brutality of her attack shocks everyone, even Starfire herself. The Queen's troops try to stop the fight, but Starfire cuts off their path with starbolt blasts, warning them to stay back. As the onslaught continues, blood erupts from Commander's failing body. But Starfire just keeps hitting her with blows, boulders, and starbolts. The cameras roll as Starfire demands to hear the truth from Commander's mouth. How she defected to the Citadel, the assassination attempt, all of it. But according to Commander, the people already know the truth and accept it. They accept her. And hearing this sends Starfire into a berserker frenzy. Unrelenting and devastating blows rain down on the Queen as her sister nearly pummels her body into ash. This is the moment she's been waiting for. The moment when she finally sends her evil sister to hell. She charges a starbolt powerful enough to erase Blackfire's life without a trace, longing to look into her sister's eyes as they fade from existence. But before she can seal her sister's fate, Koriand'r's parents order her to stop and accept the truth. Commander is the rightful ruler of Tamaran, not by birthright or treachery, but because the people have chosen her. The advisors come up with a compromise. Commander remains queen, while her parents act as direct advisors, so their peaceful hearts can temper Commander's might. All parties agree except for Starfire. In these moments, Commander looks at her little sister and sees herself, proud, stubborn, and uncompromising. The time has come for Koriand'r to return home. There's nothing left on this planet for her. Her paradise has been forever lost. Her younger brother offers to transport her. She bids farewell to her husband. They care for each other, and Karas has even begun to fall for her. But Kori doesn't reciprocate these feelings. Her heart still lies on Earth, just as Karas's truly lies with his lover. He respects her choice to leave and bids her farewell. Before leaving, the two sisters share a moment, the first time they've spoken in years without the threat of violence. They both agree they'd never get along, but Commander thinks it's because they're too much alike. They're two sides of the same coin, one light and one dark. Blackfire assures her sister that she'll rule their planet wisely, and Starfire reminds her that a heart is also needed to be a good leader. And with that, the two part ways once again. For the first time in years, Tamaran is whole. The warring factions have put down their firearms and are mending their strained bonds. And while they don't know it yet, Starfire and Blackfire's violent reunion was the first step towards the two doing the same thing.